Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I kind of want to I want to make the cannabis project conclusion video. So a few years ago, I think it was like 2 years ago, I wrote like a whole paper, like a self-independent research paper, or like literature review and synthesis research paper on the effect of cannabis on one's spirituality, or how cannabis, so like the exact research question for my project was, how does cannabis reach its spiritual effects? Because cannabis, like, it has like the fact, or not the fact, the observation of it having a spiritual effect on people has been very well documented and like talked about a lot. So we could even say that it's undeniable that cannabis has a certain spiritual effect on people, because it's not just me, like a lot of people have talked about it, and it has been well documented throughout history. Plus, cannabis in and of itself is a psychedelics, right? So like it acts on your brain and your mind, so it acts on your mind. I think that is the main defining characteristic of psychedelics, because it acts on your mind, not just your brain, because a lot of things act on your brain, like caffeine acts on your brain, nicotine acts on your brain, but they don't really count as psychedelics because they don't have like a strong effect on your mind, right? But if it has like a strong effect on your mind, like mushrooms, or like psychedelics, like is it LSD? Yeah, I kind of acid. I think acid. I kind of forgot like the name for it, but like just the psychedelics and cannabis, they have a strong effect on your mind. And so, because you guys know that I smoked weed before, like I know the effect of weed and cannabis, and for me, it was very profound as well. Like, I do intend to share my journey with cannabis in this video, so I might as well just talk about it right now, right? So essentially, before weed, I was very outgoing. And I was very outside external focused. And I would even say, like, looking back, I think I was a little bit narcissistic back then. So like I would be really in my own world. Like, imagine me being born and growing up. Throughout my whole journey, I was inside myself, but only looking outwards, like never looked inside once, right? Like, imagine a person like that. If it weren't for weed, I would probably, of course, I don't have the counter reality statement to be like, oh, if I don't have weed, I would never have had the spiritual awakenings that I had, because I wouldn't know that, right? Maybe it's the age. Maybe once I've hit like 22, the spiritual awakening thing just automatically begin for me, even if it weren't for weed. But at least in my life, in this life, it was because of weed that I started in looking inside, like started to do like a lot of internal explorations and internal explorations. And then I realized a lot of things about my life, and even like my true desires. And so I talked about in one of my past videos how to find your life's purpose, and fulfillment, a sense of fulfillment. But in that video, I talked about how I want to become an economist, and blah blah blah. So like literally, weed has made me realize that a lot, like before, partially of my pursuit, or part in my pursuit of knowledge, partially of that was very egotistical. Was kind of due to egotistical reasons, because, well, it was just egotistical. It wasn't wrong, because I was just very competitive and I wanted to have like a certain status in the society. Like, obviously everybody does, because we live in a social world, and if we have people around us, essentially, if we live in a social environment, then it's really hard to not compare yourself to your peers. I'm not like, in terms of you might feel inspired, right? Like when other people are doing great and splendid, and then you're just inspired by someone's accomplishments and stuff. Or you might feel like less about yourself when you see other, like, when you, I don't know, like when other people accomplish something that you really want to do, but you've never taken the action towards it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot of things, it's based on social hierarchy, like how you want to portray your life and stuff. Like, you know, it's just normal if you don't, like, if you don't seek, if you're not a very internal person, you're not a very introverted and introspective person, right? If you're not like someone like that, then it's really easy to kind of chase external things just for social satisfaction, right? It's normal. It's something that we would understand other people doing or ourselves doing. And that was how, like, what happened to me. Because right now, looking back, I don't regret taking economics, because it really have taught me so much about the society and how, you know, the society works on a governmental and political and policy and just economics level of things. Because if I had I not studied that, I probably would never get into it growing up. So I actually appreciate the opportunity of studying that in college or university when I was younger. But essentially, I wouldn't say honestly, right now, I realize I wouldn't say I took any step wrong growing up, because they really just taught me so, like, valuable knowledge and information that I wouldn't trade with anything, I guess, because it's very important, you know, in this life. Like, you gotta know how the society works, and you gotta know why or how policies came to be, you know, like how, like, the process of making a certain policy and what factors you have to consider in utilizing like your resources, your limited resources, how to allocate that in the society, and blah blah blah. So yeah, essentially. And also, like, how the government I also learned about how the government manages trash and just, you know, resources and stuff. So, like, those really important societal things I've learned. However, though, I've never really thought about how I want to make money. Like, or like, what kind of person, what kind of me superstar, like, what kind of superstar as myself I want to be. But weed had brought me that insight through smoke. Like, it happened as I started doing internal exploration with cannabis. But still, like, to this day, I would still not advise anybody to take it if you don't take it already, especially young people, like adolescents, because I did not smoke weed or do a lot of psychedelics when I was an adolescent, because I guess I was just kind of lucky like that, as that yeah. But I would consider myself lucky to not being exposed to that while growing up as an underage adolescent, you know. So I would consider myself lucky, and that's why I really wouldn't advise anybody who's like underage to go to introduce exogenous agent into their brain at such a young age, I guess, because your brain at your prime, like during your prime years or before 25, they're really highly malleable, like changeable. Even though, like, if you take it, for example, a few times, because I did take please don't, like, arrest me, I guess, but they won't. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But, like, I did smoke weed. I've tried weed when I was 13. So I was exposed to that when I was younger, but I didn't like it, and I was like, it's kind of making me think so slower. In, like, I realized that at 13, like, at that time. And then so I was like, I love my brain. I don't want anything to slow down my thinking, my thought processes. So yeah, I'm not gonna smoke weed anymore. So I stopped, since, like, I kind of like smoked for a week or something, and I stopped all the way till, like, I'm 21, 22. And then I started again. I was like, okay, I kind of want to get into it and see what it's about again, because I don't remember anything about it, and I don't have it, like, essentially I've been so out, like, I've not been in contact with it for so long. I kind of was curious about its effect. And then looking back now, because I've kind of low-key decided to quit weed, like, I low-key decided to quit all drugs. At least I'm gonna minimize my usage on them. Like, I'm gonna try to not do them. Essentially, I'm gonna try my best to not do them. And the reason why is because I know a lot of people, they're still like, they are okay with, for example, having a little bit of wine on their weekend, and like, and stuff. But like, to me, wine is also kind of a drug, but it's not as a strong psychedelic agent as weed. So I guess they are different in that sense. Like, alcohol is not that. It's not a strong psychedelic, so it's not gonna have a huge effect on your mind. However, though, cannabis will. And right now, so in this video, I also want to share with you guys a few helpful mindsets to really let go of all dependencies. So essentially, it's just to realize that in life, we're all trying to be the me superstar, essentially, right? Whether you define that as the me superstar or not, whether you label that as that or not, we're all trying to be our best selves and to realize our biggest dreams and goals and objectives in life, right? So we're all trying to be the me superstar. And so if you start contemplating about the relationship between you and something like a substance or drug or even food, even if you, as like the moment that you start contemplating about it, that means there's something wrong with it. It's not in a supportive, conducive flow for you, because otherwise you wouldn't even spend your mind contemplating on it, right? But yeah, so essentially, once you've started contemplating, I think it's already a good sign that it's not in balance, and you should probably let it go. And also, like, because we're all trying to be the me superstar, I think at one point you're gonna realize anything that's bad for you is standing in the way of you respecting yourself and you loving your life. And so it's just like an inevitable, or like, yeah, it's just an inevitable step that one need to take in life. If you have any sort of dependency, inevitably you're gonna reach a point where you're gonna be like, okay, I gotta do something about it, otherwise I'm just gonna get stuck at this cycle of, should I keep smoking? Should I quit? How frequent should I do it? Like, is it gonna have any effect on my life? Am I gonna, is there any negative consequences in the future that I'm gonna have to hold or withhold because of the actions that I'm taking right now? Like, all those questions are gonna come up, and eventually you're gonna have to decide. And so, like, for me, I think the best way is to just be like, okay, I'm saying no to all drugs, because it's just easier for me. Unless in like sometimes you feel like, because for me sometimes I feel like, yeah, having a cup of wine, like sometimes a glass of wine sometimes, like like at dinner with friends, in the future or whatever, is like fine. Like, it's truthfully speaking, it's not gonna kill you, and it's not gonna have like a long-term impact and lasting damaging impact on your life, right? Like, I mean, just like honest, like rationally speaking wise, that's true. So sometimes that kind of stops me from wanting to completely quit all drugs like weed, because I don't do anything worse than weed. I like psychedelics a lot, like like psilocybin, like mushrooms, acid, LSDs, like only these three I've tried, but I like them all because these altered states of consciousness really, they push you towards a loving state, like not towards a hatred state, which is really weird, because why would God create addictive things, drugs, to make people realize the importance of love? But the good thing is that psilocybin, like the mushrooms and LSDs, are not as addictive. People say weed isn't addictive as well, but I think it's just so easily accessible, and it doesn't carry a strong negative long-term effect, and that's why people just see it as like a minor thing, and then they do it, and then that's the dangerous part, where people kind of fall into a cycle of doing it a lot, and every day and blah blah blah, and kind of wasting their time. Because looking back, I wouldn't say weed made me stupider or like has ruined my memory, because it, like, another thing that's really lucky that's happened to me is that I went back to China for a year because of my family reasons. And during, obviously you can't get weed in China, that's illegal. I don't want to it's illegal, and I don't want to get arrested, obviously. But like, I did not smoke weed at all, like, for a year, and I was like pretty clean almost. Like, I had some beer and stuff, but like, yeah, like but almost like very clean. Basically, I would see as like very clean already, like according to my standards. And then comparing that state to the state that I was in while I was smoking pretty frequently, I realized there is no lasting impact on me or my mind or my brain. Like I still work they still work the same for me. However, though, the only thing that I might regret a little bit, is the time spent doing that. Because some people, yeah, sure, you can still accomplish things. Like you can still go to your workout session, you can still dance, you can still even study sometimes on weed, but it's just not as efficient, right? And also, it's the time where you contemplate on, it's just the time you spend on thinking about it. Even this video, I was contemplating, I was like, do I even want to make another video about cannabis? Because I don't want to spend more time on it. You know, I've already spent a lot of time exploring why it had its spiritual effect. And if you're kind of lazy to watch that video, and also my expression, like vocal expression or verbal expression, just wasn't that good back then because I was, you know, still young and very early on my talking journey on YouTube. So I'll just give you a quick rundown or very short snippet of the research result I got. So essentially, your ECS, like the internal biological system that you have in your body, physiological system in your body that weed acts upon, is called the endocannabinoid system, or the ECS as its initials. Or like 简写, right? Like, yeah, the ECS. So essentially the ECS is like a very central controlling kind of system in your body. Like it's present everywhere throughout your body, essentially, that receptor, you know, like the receptor that cannabis bind to. So it's working on its own. And we even have like anandamide, which is a molecule that's really similar to THC, like in its structure and its working, because it binds to the endocannabinoid receptors in our body. So that's our internal way of working through our ECS, right? Like that's how our body designed our ECS, and the internal molecules, chemical molecules that we have to act on the ECS to modulate, meaning to like change or affect like almost all physiological processes in our body. So like depending on which part of the body or which part of the brain the ECS is activated, the functions that it's going to act upon is going to be different too. Does that make sense? Like, so if it's acting on, like, for example, if it's acting in your hippocampus, then it's probably doing something about your memory. Like, it's probably affecting certain processes in your memory process. Like, I've talked about this in my the Cannabis Project video, where essentially the ECS activation, CB1R, which is one of the receptors in the ECS activation in the hippocampus, is required for one to consolidate their episodic memories into long-term memories. And episodic memories, essentially, it's just like visual information, kind of like the visual, you know, like visual and place, I guess, like information that you get, like the memories that you get that looks very similar to watching a movie, like your own movie. Kind of like that memory into long-term memory requires that's one of the research paper's results. So obviously it might get negated, but that's the result for that paper at least. So like it might get negated, not because that paper wasn't good enough, but it's just how science works, you know, like how the scientific world works. So like there's never something that's set in stone unless this paper is super robust, and it's really hard to, you know, like find, or not find, but like it's just, yeah, find things to negate. But essentially I'm just trying to explain that even though right now I'm saying this, maybe in the long future or short future, whatever, this finding might get negated or updated into something new. So I just want to put a disclaimer for myself out there. Essentially, yeah, so like it's required to CB1R activation in the hippocampus is required for one to consolidate your episodic memory into long-term memory. So that's why sometimes when you're high, it's hard to, recall what happened even a few seconds later, prior to the present moment, because your brain was just occupied, or the CB1R somehow is just not working properly to consolidate that memory into long-term memory, essentially, Okay, so essentially your body, your ECS is like a whole body system. Let's just put it that way, like it's everywhere in your body. And when you introduce cannabis into your body, it's unclear that which region it's gonna specifically bind to, right? So I came up with a hypothesis where I think cannabis is partially selective binding and partially non-selective binding, meaning that when cannabis, THC, enters your body, it would first get flooded everywhere because, the bloodstream is just like flowing everywhere and it's doing its work, and everything. So like the THC is going to be like kind of everywhere because you just essentially poured it into your body. But then depending on what you're doing, how you're using your body at that moment and your mind at that moment, the blood flow is going to flow differently, right, into your different parts. So for example, if it happens to be I'm activating my temporal lobe, for example, while smoking, then more blood flow is going to be sent to my temporal lobe, and hence more ESC or ECS or CB1R activation is going to happen in the temporal lobe, right? So like, because the blood flow is there, and because you're working that, and so because THC is in your system, because cannabis and THC is in your system, and because the blood flows there, it's just gonna have more selective binding or specific binding in that area, compared to other areas at that instantaneous moment, right? And if you go back to trying to retrieve a memory detail, whatever you need to use your hippocampus, then THC binding is gonna be more there, So that's how I kind of think that it's gonna work once you ingest that, because science has, like, at least from the paper that I've read, there's no explicit explanation on like where cannabis will be binding, because it's just unclear like where exact site it's gonna bind to. And the reason why it's unclear, I think, is because each individual is working differently in their bodies, So like obviously you can't be like, okay, once you smoke cannabis, it's definitely gonna go to your prefrontal cortex, and then go to hippocampus, and then go to amygdala. Like, it's not gonna be like that. But instead, it's gonna be like partially, it's gonna just be everywhere, binding randomly, or binding depending on what you're doing what you're doing right now. What you're doing and thinking, right? Yeah. So that is essentially the place I started for that project, and then it progressed into talking about. So I concluded. I summarized a few spiritual effects. So essentially, cannabis have brought me a lot of spiritual insights while I'm under the influence. I have to be honest with it, because I'm honestly, I oppose drugs, honestly. Like if you ask me to my core and soul, I would be like, okay, I'd rather this world does not have any cigarettes, alcohol, vapes, or like just drugs in general. I'd rather this world does not have it, and it's all positive. I'd rather this world be like that if you let me choose. Yeah, I would. I'm willing to let go of I'm not willing to let go of partying and fun with friends, because I think that's so valuable and that's so precious. But if alcohol is not required to have that, then I would be willing to let go of alcohol. But if God is like, well, humans, you guys are not perfect, we're all flawed, or we are perfect like that, or it's just not simply black and white like that. If God is like, okay, the world is just not as simple as black and white, alcohol is kind of required to bring people into that mood and to party and have fun. If that's the case, then I wouldn't willing to let go of alcohol. But if it's not the case, then I am willing to let go of alcohol and all drugs. So deep down inside, I prefer more of a clean body and clean life and clean world, everything clean. So it's really hard for me to say that cannabis really have brought me a lot of spiritual insight, but it had, so I gotta be honest here. And also psychedelics had also brought me a lot of really profound spiritual insight and growth, even just to realize what love is, to realize it to such a deep level that I would never forget, I guess, like in life, and etc. So it's so weird. But essentially I summarized all of my spiritual effects. I narrowed them down to like a few, like 3, I think. It was 3 spiritual effects that I talked about in that video. So one of them was like it pushes you to like reevaluate life, and how it does that is through activating the blah 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 CB1R. I think it was in Broadman area 46, I think. Yeah, so essentially, because I'm trying to clarify that project right now, because when I was watching it later at a later date, I was like, oh my god, my expression just wasn't that clear, and people probably wouldn't be able to understand what I'm talking about, or might even have a difficult time to understanding what I'm talking about. So I gotta clarify that in this video. Yeah, so essentially I summarized a few spiritual effects that cannabis had on me, and then I explained why, or probably why, I proposed my hypotheses on why and how cannabis brought or like made those spiritual effects possible or happen. Yeah, make those things happen. Yeah. So if you just understand this bigger concept, then when you watch that video, it's probably going to be more informative, and yeah, it's going to help you understand and realize what cannabis is about more better. And if you are a cannabis user, which I think most majority of people watching this video is probably are, because if it's irrelevant to you, and if you don't even do drugs, then why is this video of interest to you? Because I probably wouldn't watch something on meth or cocaine or whatever, maybe if I'm curious, whatever, because I don't use them and it's just irrelevant to my life. So most likely you are a weed smoker or ingester, and if you are, then you probably have also experienced a lot of spiritual effects. And if you want, but then if you want to know why, it's really hard to find the reasons, because all of the research papers out there on cannabis have not been focusing on its spiritual effects. It's more so focusing on its long-term damages, or like does it worsen anxiety and depression over time? Is it a helpful medicine? If you wanted to use it as a medicine, is it a beneficial thing to do with cannabis as a medicine? Like the research projects are usually research papers are usually on those topics, instead of on how and why cannabis could elicit those spiritual effects. And plus, just defining the spiritual effects is kind of hard, because how do you define something that's spiritual and is mind related? It's just really hard to define it, to pin it down in using words, right? So in that video, I kind of answered my questions on why cannabis can elicit those spiritual effects and etc. And then I found some answers on that. Essentially, it's just different brain area regions are found to modulate meaning changing or managing, kind of modulate those like governing is more accurate synonym, I would say. So like so essentially just they found brain regions that modulate certain spiritual effects, and they found CB1Rs, or the ECS, they found. I had to pause because something interrupted the filming, but essentially CB1Rs, or one of the receptors in the endocannabinoid system, the ECS, is CB1R, and CB1R is found to be most like expressed the most among their studied regions in that paper, which I linked in my writing, which is linked in the description box of the cannabis project. That video, the description box underneath it, my writing, so you can check there and find the reference and find the paper if you're interested. But essentially, that paper found CB1Rs to be most expressed in Brodmann area 46, and that area is most heavily linked to governing working memory content in the human body. So essentially what that means is that area tells the other regions of your brain which working memory content is the most important, which, you know, like working memory just means short-term memory, but I think there's like, I'm not sure if there's like two type of short-term memory, but essentially working memory is one of the type of the short-term memories. And then working memory essentially just, I hypothesized to be as like a blackboard, like a hypothetical in your brain kind of magical blackboard where you put information, whatever information, visual, audio, or semantics, semantic, whatever information, like on there, and then you just pick and choose which one is the most important ones to use. So Brodmann area 46 is governing that function. So it's the most heavily linked to working that memory, like working that task, I guess. I am not sure because I'm not like a professional neuroscientist, so I cannot say for sure, but it's just from what I've investigated and what I've explored. Maybe I am an independent little neuroscientist in training. Maybe, yay, training by myself, because I love talking about that, or I like talking about brain regions and brain stuff and human body stuff and biology and how to live better and etc. Yeah, so I guess I am a little researcher in training by myself. Yeah, that's cute. Okay, anyways, yeah, I'm just in a very good energy right now, and I know that you guys probably can feel the same too. Just by watching my video, we're like exchanging information that's stored in one atom or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, I'm the type of person who like just says whatever comes to mind that I want to say. I like specifically tell myself to have the courage to do that and just have the bravery to do that, you know, for me. Yeah. And for everybody, for me and for everybody, because I always tell myself I want to be a good example to people, just one good example, you know, striving to be her best. Yeah, just one good example. That's what I tell myself. Yeah, hopefully this kind of mindset helps you guys to, you know, to encourage as a motivation, I think, as a fuel kind of vibe. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and the last update I want to include in this video is that I've decided to quit smoking completely. Well, oh my god, yeah, because like I used to smoke weed and I don't do gummies. But like, because I love smoking weed, like, because it just hits faster, and I just like the effect. And I feel like gummies and edibles are just too weak. Like the effect is too weak for me. It doesn't hit like that. But now I've decided to quit smoking weed completely. So if I ever do weed, I'll do gummies, and I'll just like take gummies. So like it's better, you know. It's just like the digestive system now. Yeah, it's not like lungs and etc. But yeah, just quit smoking completely. But like, I feel like maybe in the future I might just sometimes be like, okay, I kind of want to smoke a cigarette, and I'll just like have a cigarette or whatever, because like I'm like that, you know, like when I'm partying and stuff, I like to have just one cigarette because I know it doesn't kill you. And okay, I just remembered I wanted to talk about this in this video before I started filming the previous segment. So essentially, I also want to talk about addiction to drugs in general, like, or like nicotine or like alcohol and stuff. like, should we quit them? Like, I want to talk about this. Like, the question would, like, if, say, for example, an interviewer asked me, do you think one should quit drugs at, like, completely, like alcohol, cigarettes, and weed, and like whatever drugs completely? If they ask me that question, what would I answer, right? Obviously, normal people would be like, just quit completely. But yeah, I agree. If you're like a healthy person, but like, please stay like that, like, for real. Like, I firmly ask you to, because we need people like that in the world, you know, like, just completely healthy people as like role models, so we can be like, one day we're gonna be completely healthy like them, or, you know, just we gotta be completely healthy and etc. But right now, I'm kind of person, like, I like to party and I like to drink wine, or like sometimes, and I just feel like a glass of wine just won't kill anybody, just won't kill me. And I just feel like that's just like a small enjoyment in life for me. And I've contemplated on whether or not I want to quit them completely. And I even told my mom a few days ago, mind you, that I'm gonna quit drugs and alcohol completely. But today I've decided to not do that, because I still think having a glass of wine is fine, you know. Like, if you really truly ask me to be really honest with you, and to be really honest to answer to God, you know, like, if God is asking me this and now I'm answering to him, I would say I feel like it's fine. Even though if I don't do it, I'll be a really good role model for people, and I'll be a really good example. So I'm probably gonna work towards that. Maybe tomorrow I might just decide to not do drugs and alcohol at all, like, no psychedelics, no alcohol, no cigarettes at all. But right now, I just feel like it's fine. And sometimes when I'm partying, I just want to have a cigarette, because I just feel like it's a vibe, you know? It's such a vibe, you know? And then it's not going to kill me. And plus, my belief system is that we live forever. Like, our soul is eternal. That's my belief system. Like, I firmly believe that to the depth of my core, the soul, the core of my soul, to the depth, to the most, yeah, just to my soul core, being completely honest. I believe that souls are eternal and we live forever as souls, and it's just like a loop, it's just like a circle. Yeah, I feel like this might it. Okay, hi neighbor. I guess, yeah. Anyways, essentially it's just like you living through your life, and it's always gonna be like that. It's an infinity sign, even though it cannot be like that, because time, it goes on and on and on, and you never know what happens in the future. So I wouldn't say it's like a ring, I would say it's like a line. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, yeah, I do. Okay. Yeah, so like, essentially, like, I essentially, yeah, yeah, essentially, yeah, I just got but yeah, I've decided to quit smoking, and I've updated all my thoughts on drugs. Oh yeah, so like, the soul is eternal, and so I feel like just doing a little bit of drugs, like, right now, is like not that big of a deal. Like, it doesn't make a person bad. It definitely do not give them like, it does not give them sins, you know. Like, people shouldn't feel like they're just worse than other people, or just have like moral character flaws, like sins, just because they do that, you know. I feel like if I were God, I would say that. But if doing that had made you feel like that about yourself, then that's maybe like a really prominent sign that you're doing too much, and it's affecting your own moral judgment of yourself. Then yeah, it's time to quit. It's just not worth it to do it anymore. I have to talk about this because of my unique position, and the learning and studying, the researching that I did on this. I feel like this is part of my responsibility now. Like, I have to talk about drugs and substances and alcohol and weed. Not alcohol like weed, but I'm just talking about like, yeah, weed is the most weed, because, you know, I've done that. Yeah, just that, everything I've just said. I feel like it's part of my responsibility now, so I have to do it. And all in all, I still like the effect of it. I'm still a little bit in love with weed, to be honest with you guys. Like, it's just I don't know, like I just feel like it's brought me so much in life, in general. So like I just don't and I feel like it's not that big of a deal if you just like pop a gummy once in a while, because it's just a gummy. And it's legal now. Like, it's not even illegal. If it's illegal, I won't do it. Say, for example, if I'm in China or like any place in the world that weed is illegal, I would just not do it. And that would just be like a break for me from it. But if I'm in a state or a place that weed is legal, in a place that, I don't know why I said state. That's very weird. I feel like, anyways, time magic. I feel like I'm experiencing time magic right now. But yeah, so essentially, I'm okay with not smoking or not. I don't smoke anymore. Let's say, but cigarettes sometimes, like very like maybe once in like every 1 to 2, 4 to 5 months. I'd say like 1 to 2 years, or it would be great. Or like 6 months or whatever. Just yeah. Anyways, I'm trying to say that. Yeah, so like just to be very completely honest with you guys, this is my honest thought. I just feel like it's not that big of a deal. But then one of the cons about it is it does make you feel more critical about yourself. Like, it does affect your moral character judgment, or 理性. This is your inner self talk and inner self cleanliness and peace, like that. It does affect it like that. Yeah, so like the bad part, the con is that, but then after all, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal at the same time. So it's just like why make it so hard for us to choose? Like, why? Okay, anyways, but like, because at the end of the day, like for me, because every time it's like when I'm really high or under the influence, I always get really anxious and then and scared and be like, I need to quit weed, otherwise my whole world is just effed up. Like, it's done for me. Yeah. But then every time I calm down, like after the intoxication, when I'm at a sober state, which you should think that it's the sober state, so like the judgment is clear and there, right? So like we should believe in the sober state. But then if it were me in the sober state, I always think it's just like it's not that big of a deal. So like I don't know, like I gotta put this honest thought and perspective out there. Just one of the perspectives, because of my unique position. I feel like I have to say it. Yeah, it's just my responsibility. So that's that, and I think that's all for this video. It's a long one. Thank you for sitting through it. I would, if I could go back in time, I would go back to the intro self and be like, grab a coffee, grab a snack, grab a whatever drink, or just keep doing your thing and just turn the audio to 2 times speed. And so like you can listen to everything and you understand everything quickly and instantaneously, because I know you can understand that, because I know your mind works as intelligent as mine. Yeah, the same. Yeah, the same. Yeah. Okay, so that's all for today's video, and I hope to see you guys next time. Love you guys. And thank you so much for liking my video and liking me. I know you guys love me. I can feel it. I know that you guys love me. So thank you guys for loving me. And yeah, hopefully this video goes viral and hopefully I can finally blow up on YouTube and start earning money, because I need to earn money. That is the biggest thing in my life right now. Like the biggest challenge for me right now, my personal task on my main character NPC game, first person full world open world game. My main task is to start earning money for myself. Yeah, I don't know how, or hopefully that's through my music. I don't know how yet, but hopefully that's through my music and YouTube. That I can start earning money because I have to support my family. I gotta do the work. Mama gotta do the work. I want to say it. Yeah, I want to say it like that. At least once, in my life. That's funny and that's fun. I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to convince nobody. I'm just talking to myself. Yeah. Hey, to that special someone. Love you. Yeah, love you. I know you're watching. Love you. Peace. And also, not peace. I don't want to say peace out, but I just want to say that when you see me, just know that I know what's up, and I know that you guys know what's up, and then that's that. So like we can just do whatever, go from there, or do whatever you want to talk to me about. I'm very approachable. I want to say, yeah, I want to put it out there because when I'm walking on the street, sometimes I've gotten people like tell me that I look very arrogant, like very in my own world, like not giving a F or S, like SHIT about others or like the world or whatever. Like I've gotten that recently. Yeah, but just only once in my life. So like, I just want to tell people that I'm usually listening to music when I'm out in public, and yeah, and like I'm always thinking about my own stuff, but then I'm also very approachable and friendly usually, and I can get aggressive sometimes, like easily irritated, or I'm pretty jumpy sometimes. I think that can be intimidating for some people, somewhat, because they might think I'm unpredictable sometimes. But I promise you guys here, like I'll try my best to be friendly and approachable for people, and just like if you need to, of course I'll, like one of the virtues that I really encourage myself and celebrate myself for is my friendliness, like friendliness and kind-heartedness and kindness, just kindness, friendliness, openness and approachableness, just being approachable for people. I want to be like that. I want to be like a person like that. Like I'm literally putting in effort to be someone who can be there for others, And so yeah, so like just know that, and no wonder you guys love me so much. Yeah, like I know you guys probably know that about me, and that's why you guys love me so much, and thank you so much. And I should acknowledge too that you guys really know this about me. Like I'm a kind-hearted, friendly person, and you guys love me for that. Not for that, but you guys love me regardless, and either way, yeah, like love me, but you guys appreciate that about me, and and I should be happy about it. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the update now for now. If I come up with anything else, I'll obviously post it on here and talk to you guys more next time when I see you guys. So that's all for today. Hope to see you guys next time. Love you guys. I feel like I'm gonna blow up in this video for some reason. I don't know, just a feeling, like I feel like a lot of people are watching already. Like I feel like this video, but maybe not right now, or even like in the distant near future. I don't know if I want that right now for myself or not. It will make me happy, obviously, if it happens. But if it's not, then I still also know that it's coming. And also, I'm just happy. I feel loved right now from this video. I feel loved. So I'm going to just continue to feel loved and continue to live in this mood and be, chill about it. Because obviously going viral or like blowing up right now for me will be like great. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So I'm just going to be in a 平常心的心态, like be centered, be calm, be level-headed. Yeah. Level-hearted. Yeah. Okay. That's all for this video. Okay. Love you guys. Bye. Bye-bye. Jimmy. I look cute here. Okay. Bye-bye.